Anyway, rows within the Tory party over the price of trousers might be new, but over Europe, not so much. And this week's Commons vote on when the government will fire the starting gun on Brexit and what it will say about its plans before it does so confirmed that instead of the Eurosceptics being the outsiders as they were during the Maastricht debates all these years ago, now it's the Remainers who are leading the resistance. Here's our Adam with more.
While the Prime Minister was schmoozing in the gold-plated Gulf this week, back home the Commons was voting on a Labour motion forcing her to publish a plan for Brexit. Through some parliamentary jiggery-pokery, the government basically got its way, but it did provide a platform for some mischief-making by Tory MPs who voted to remain. Two in particular.
We are getting somewhat tired, are we not, of this constant level of abuse, this constant criticism that we're somehow Remoaners, that want to thwart the will of the people, go back on it, and that we don't accept the result. We absolutely do. I don't like the result. Yes, I do believe that the people made a terrible mistake.
It's not good enough that these things are dragged out of the government by opposition day motions. I'm pleased that it's happened, but I wish the government was taking more of the initiative.
Is Nicky Morgan really listening to her constituents in Loughborough, though? A majority of them voted to leave.
I suppose I'm one of the people that stuck their head above the parapet, and so if you do that, then you're likely to attract attention, you're likely to attract abuse, but also actually levels of support. You know, I'm having emails from around the country with people saying, you know, thank you for what you're doing, and party members around the country to say thank you for what you are doing and what you are saying. And others will continue to do that. You know, I just think that as a backbench member of Parliament, you've got to be there, particularly when we have a very weak opposition, to ask the questions that government needs to be scrutinised on before we embark on such a huge issue. Nobody comes into politics to be a thorn in their party leader's side. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's such a massive issue that if you don't stand up for what you believe in, I'm not sure what the point is of going into politics.
That puts her on a collision course with activists in her local party like Adam Stairs, a committed Leaver who accuses his MP of disloyalty.
Nicky has promised me and the rest of our Conservative Association she will be voting for Article 50 and she will support the Prime Minister's timetable. We've just got to trust that and hope that goes ahead. But there's a lot of people who think, you know, she's taking sideswipes at the government and at Theresa May. Now, the Conservatives are very popular. She was elected as a Conservative MP and we want to see a Conservative government being successful on Brexit.
What do you think she's playing at?
I have no idea what she's playing at. I think she just needs to get on with her job as an MP, which does very well, and support the government.
Now let's head to Anna Soubry's constituency nearby to see how her stance is going down with the voters. If Anna Soubry doesn't fully back Brexit, what does that mean for her here?
Well, she's going to have a little bit of a problem with the voters, especially in this area that voted to come out of the EU. So she will definitely have a little bit of a problem there.
She should stick for what she believes in, but then I guess from a democratic perspective, she does. I don't know, it's a tricky one.
It's a bit of a dilemma, isn't it?
It's a bit of a dilemma, yeah.
She's actually admitted the fact over and over again that she wanted to remain. But I say her views at the moment, even in her emails, depicted the fact that she's anti-Brexit still.
3, 2, 1.
Theresa May will host her most pro-European MPs at Downing Street this week to discuss the countdown to Brexit. Although now we know, not everyone's invited.
Adam Fleming reporting. The leading Tory resistance fighter in the Commons on Wednesday was Ken Clarke. He was the only Tory MP who voted against the government's plan to trigger Article 50 by the end of March. He joins us now from Nottingham. Welcome back to the programme, Ken Clarke. Now, tell me this. When David Cameron resigned after losing the referendum, you had to pick a new leader. Which candidate did the Tory Europhiles like you put up to deliver either a so-called soft Brexit or no Brexit at all?
Well, I can't speak for the others, but I voted for Theresa May. I rather incautiously gave a notorious interview. It wasn't meant to be an interview. I was chatting to Malcolm Rifkin, but somebody turned the camera and a mic on us. And I said, apart from calling her a bloody difficult woman, which the Tory party probably needs a bloody difficult woman to read it at the moment, I compared her with Margaret Thatcher and said I was going to vote for her. I gave a vote for one of the younger ones first, but I always told Theresa I'd vote for her. She was the only serious Prime Minister candidate who was standing, in my view.
Okay, well, so you voted for somebody you thought was a difficult woman. She's being difficult in ways you don't like. Your side of the Tory party, you had your chance to put up somebody more in line with you. Instead, you just shut up. So why the complaints about it not going in your direction?
I'm not making any complaints. It's not Theresa's fault we're in the dreadful mess we are. She was on the Remain side. She made a very good speech during the campaign on the referendum, setting out the economic case for being in, setting out the security case for being in, which as Home Secretary she was particularly expert in. It wasn't her fault that not a word of it was reported anywhere in the national media. Now, my views have been the same, I'm afraid, really throughout my adult life for the 50 years I've been in politics. And my views have been the mainstream policy of the Conservative Party throughout all that time.
Sure.
I don't expect to have a sudden conversion on the 24th of June. And I think what I owe to my constituents and to Parliament is that I exercise my judgment. I make speeches giving my reasons. I make the best judgment that I can of what is the national interest.
I understand that.
I'd be a terrible hypocrite if I started voting in favour of a yet unknown and unfinished plan to leave it.
No, and that's not what I'm asking you. But how many Conservative MPs do you think you can count on to oppose this so-called hard Brexit? Is it 40, 20, 10, 5, 1?
I've no idea because Anna and Nikki, who you've just seen on the video, who are also sticking to their principles. They're only saying what they've been saying ever since they've been in politics, probably may have more idea than me.
So that's 3. How many more?
Well, I have no idea. We'll find out, no doubt. The key thing at the moment for the country, and what is really a crisis, we're living in an unreal bubble in which all that's happening is the tone of politics is getting nastier and the reporting is getting sillier even than it was during the referendum. So it's all about Theresa May's trousers and whether Boris has made some inappropriate joke. What we need, if we're going to abandon the basis upon which we've made ourselves a leading political power in the world for the last 40 years, and the basis upon which our economy has prospered, because Margaret Thatcher got the others to adopt the single market, and we benefited from that more than any other member state. So now we need a serious plan, a strategy. Well, what is our relationship going to be in the modern world? How are our children and grandchildren going to make the best living they can? And what we actually need is the minister to concentrate on getting a policy, tell Parliament what it is in a white paper. That's what would normally happen. Get Parliament's approval, and then we're going to start years of negotiation. This will run and run. So the events of last week, will fade.
All right,
in,
this interview hasn't got time to run and run, so let me get another question in. You seem to be quoted in the Mail on Sunday this morning as saying that if the Prime Minister signs too much with the hard Brexit group, she won't survive. Is that your view?
It is, because I think only a minority of the House of Commons think it's all frightfully simple and you can just leave. I mean, the referendum campaign, the only national media reporting of the issues were completely silly and often quite dishonest arguments on both sides. It wasn't seriously
but let me just check this, Mr. Clark. Explain to me the basis.
Those are the hard-line
No, Mr. Clark, excuse me, I have to interrupt, because you've said the Prime Minister won't survive. So just explain to our viewers why she won't survive.
She would be in a minority if she started adopting the views of John Redwood or Ian Duncan Smith. It's quite clear that a majority of the present House of Commons does not agree with that, and actually it would be pretty catastrophic if that's all we were going to do when we turn up and face 27 other nation states and the biggest free market in the world and tell them we're just pulling out.
So how long do you give her?
It's out of the European single market.
How long do you give the Prime Minister?
Teresa's in favour of free trade. She always says that. I mean,
how long do you give the Prime Minister if you don't think she's going to survive by going for a hard Brexit?
I don't think she will go for a hard Brexit.
Really? You're surrounded by Liam Fox and David Davis and Boris Johnson?
Do you think Liam Fox is going to determine the policy of the cabinet?
What about David
to be fair
Davis?
to Liam's principles are diametrically opposite to mine. Liam has always been ferociously against the European Union, although he actually served in a government that was pro-European for about 2.5 years.
So does he not survive either?
Liam's views. Sorry?
Does he not survive either?
Look, you're trying to reduce it to my trying to forecast cabinet reshuffles, which I haven't a clue whether there's going to be a cabinet reshuffle. They may all be ministers for the next, 10 years. I have no idea.
What I do know is that
Liam Fox and me, but also I think Liam and the majority of his cabinet colleagues don't start from the same place. The way forward is for them to produce a white paper setting out a strategy on which all the cabinet are agreed. People should stop leaking the cabinet papers they're getting. They should stop leaking against each other, ministers should. They should get down and do the work when they've got an agreed strategy. When
all
they
right.
decided what now
I'm sorry to
replaces
interrupt you again, Mr. Clark, but we haven't got much time. I want to get another question is, we saw in our film that a number of constituency members in those areas which have strongly Remain MPs, like yourself, in our case, in this film, it was Nicky Morgan, the constituency party members are a little bit unhappy about this. What's your message to them? Don't they deserve an MP that reflects their way of thinking?
Well, Leavers are unhappy and Remainers are very grateful. I mean, being ladies, they get more spiteful emails than I do. Mine don't go in for the abuse they do on women, the sort of sad people who sit down to abuse their
because you're not on email,
but I get
Mr.
more
Clark.
I get more for Remainers, and I think I'm a great fan of Anna Soubry and of Nicky Morgan. Don't agree with them on everything. It's not just because I agree with them on this, but they are women of principle, and their views they're putting forward are the ones they've always held. And I think we're doing the government a favour by saying what it now depends on is your success in agreeing a policy and then explaining to us and the public what you want to do. I should be surprised if they manage that by the end of March. I think it's best to get the policy right first, but we shall see.
Have you been invited then, if you, as you say, you're trying to be helpful to the government? I'm not sure the government thinks that, but that's what you say. Have you been invited to this meeting in Downing Street on Wednesday for the soft Brexiteers?
No, I haven't, because I haven't been joining any of these groups. I mean, I think it'd be fair to say most of my colleagues, most journalists like you, Andrew, know exactly what my views are. I've been propounding them for several decades, so no doubt those that haven't had this kind of discussion with their colleagues before have been invited. I didn't expect to be invited. Theresa May, I get on perfectly well with. I know I've had conversations with her, but no, I'm not invited to this particular meeting, but I don't think there's much significance in that.
And what do you think of the way that Downing Street has handled Nicky Morgan?
Well, I'd feel sorry for women in politics that, I'm glad to say men in politics don't have great news stories about what they're wearing. I mean, in my case, apart from my suede shoes, I'm probably very lucky because I'm not a very snappy dresser. It just is tedious in these days that we still have absurd, sort of pop newspaper stories.
Yeah, but it was a woman that raised the issue of a woman Prime Minister's clothes. Which maybe changes the dynamic a little bit, but did that commenting on the Prime Minister's trousers, is that really grounds for banishment?
No, of course it's not. If Nicky and Theresa, I hope, will have some serious political discussions, and if they want to have an argument about what they're wearing, obviously I think all their closest friends would advise them to keep that private. I'm sure they would have. I mean, it just is absurd. And given that, the party appears to be deciding that it's been ordered on the 23rd of June to change its policies about Britain's relationship with the world, it needs to be taken seriously, and this low-level stuff is filling a vacuum before serious discussion starts.
Right. Ken Clark, thank you very much for helping to fill our vacuum this morning. And no one, of course, would ever criticise how you dress. We'll make that clear.
Of course.
Of course. Now,